And talking of world records, 1980, huge big storm. That in itself was a record. I remember seeing my greenhouse, my mum and dad's greenhouse, fly across into the neighbour's garden, and then into the next neighbour's garden, and then the next neighbour's. It just kept flying, the greenhouse, and then theirs kept flying as well. And now then, of course, we hear in the news today, in the weather, that there's a perfect storm on its way, and it's going to hit the southern region of the UK. I thought, you know what, we need an expert to tell us a bit more about this, because I haven't got a clue. I just look outside and go, it's raining, right, need an umbrella. Most of us. But then, maybe we need some advice. Now, this is a gentleman called Kris Surtees. Hello, Chris.
Hello there.
How are you, sir?
Yes, not too bad at all. Fairly busy at the moment, as I'm sure you can imagine, with the upcoming weather on Monday.
Yeah, too right. Now, tell everyone where you're from, because they can actually have a look at your website to find out a bit of detail about this as well. Whereabouts are you from?
Sure, so I'm lead forecaster from a forecasting organisation called UK Weather Forecast. You can find our website at www.ukweatherforecast.co.uk, or if you want to get even more regular updates, we also have quite an active Facebook page, which is found at facebook.com/UK Weather Forecast. Right,
OK. Now, let's have a look at this, because 87, that was a big old storm. Is this sort of storm anywhere near that, or, you know, what's...
Not quite up to those standards. As far as I remember, in 1987, we saw gusts of wind up to 120 miles an hour in parts. We're not talking quite that high, but we're certainly still talking some very potentially disruptive wind speeds across the south of Britain during the course of Sunday night and more especially into Monday. Right. That includes the Kent area, and actually on the most recent model runs, the southeast of England and Kent in particular is one of the hardest hit areas.
Oh, really? So that's nice. So Seven Oaks that went down to Six Oaks is going to be none Oaks, I think, by the end of this. So what should we do? I mean, you know, we know this is coming, and I mean, it's not that often we get these sort of things. You hear of tornadoes and then all the big hurricanes that hit America, and you hear them preparing for all these things, batten down the hatches, all that sort of thing. But what should we do here? I mean, it might not do much, or it might, but, you know, what advice would you give?
Yes, absolutely. There's two things really to say here. First of all, there's still a tiny bit of uncertainty within the forecast modelling. To be honest, over the last 24 hours, forecast models have been quite consistent with the story. So we are becoming increasingly confident of this story of the strong winds coming in across the south of England. There's a very smallish chance that it goes down into the north of France, but at the moment, it still looks as though it's going to hit the south of England. Now, in terms of preparing, obviously we've got to put this into perspective. We're not talking about the kind of hurricanes they'll get down on the east coast of America. But we do suggest taking sensible precautions. For example, if you've got garden furniture out in your garden, we suggest storing that away somewhere. Right. If you have something like loose roof tiles, we would possibly suggest you getting those looked at or secured in some way this weekend. And the biggest thing we're really concerned about at the moment during the course of Monday is because we've had a fair amount of rainfall, and there will be some rainfall, some heavy rainfall accompanying this storm system as well. Right. The potential for trees to fall down, that's really the biggest potential we're looking at. With gusts of wind possibly up to 80 miles an hour, particularly in coastal districts, but perhaps just moving slightly further inland across Kent too. There's the potential for trees to uproot, and obviously that can cause disruption to transport, disruption to power lines, and hopefully nobody's kind of anywhere near or underneath trees if they start falling down. So that's kind of the biggest potential we're looking at here. So it's taking sensible precautions. We're not talking about boarding up windows and abandoning ship, but we are talking about, you know, just securing garden furniture, securing any loose items like wheelie bins, I suppose would be quite a prominent one at the moment. And just taking these kind of sensible precautions just to make sure that when the strong winds do arrive later on Sunday and into Monday, you've not got damage caused to your property or your vehicles or anybody around you.
And what causes this? Well, how does this sort of weather front, as they call it, and I saw these things called icy bars on the TV. I had no idea what he was on about. He said, the icy bars are tightening over the Atlantic. I'm like, what's he on about? How does it work?
Sure. So isobars, just to explain that one first of all, isobars are just a way of demonstrating on weather graphics an area of equal pressure. So the tighter those isobars are, the quicker the pressure is falling across a given area, and therefore the stronger the wind, because of the pressure falling. That's what actually creates the wind across Earth. Now, in terms of what's causing this storm itself, what we have at the moment is we have the jet stream right across the south of the UK. Now, the jet stream is an area of winds around 10 kilometres above our heads up in the atmosphere. And what that does is it's essentially just a very fast-moving area of winds. But what happens is when this area of fast-moving winds engages a low-pressure system at the surface, it gives it the potential to deepen. You have a lot more energy available within the atmosphere, and low-pressure systems can really deepen. So what's happening is we've got a low pressure developing as we speak, actually, out in the Atlantic Ocean, just off the eastern seaboard of the USA, and that's going to engage with the jet stream as it moves towards the UK. And so as it engages with the jet stream, this, what would be normally a regular low-pressure system, is allowed to deepen a lot more than it normally would.
Wow. It's amazing. I love this science behind it. It's really interesting. So really, it's, play safe, put the old garden ornaments away and any stuff that's out in the garden that can blow around, make sure that's safe. And I guess if it is really strong, don't go to work. That's a good excuse to stay home.
Obviously, I can't condone taking it's false sickness or anything like that, but certainly if it does look as though the situation is getting quite bad during the course of Monday, it's very much a case to stay tuned to the forecast through the weekend, and we will be providing updates all the way through the weekend. Wonderful. On the website and on the Facebook group. But it is very much a weekend to keep an eye on the forecast, and if on Monday morning you do see trees falling and blocking roads, the sensible suggestion may well be, if you can't get to work, then don't risk it.
So tell us the website again so that we can have a look and see what's happening and follow it as it all happens, Kris. Let's find out.
Sure. The website is www.ukwweatherforecast.co.uk, and we also provide regular updates on Facebook. So if that's your thing, go to facebook.com/UK Weather Forecast.
Fantastic. It's Kris Surtees. I think we should give him a round of applause. That's a wonderful, excellent, good advice there from Kris. I think we'll play Evil Woman, I think, because they usually name them after women, don't they? No? All right, I'm sorry. Harriet's looking at me.